Hello everyone, welcome to the Weeb initiative. I'm your host, the Weeb. This is the show where every other week I'll be talking about manga, anime, and everything in between. This week I'll be talking about Tengen Toppa Gurren Lagann. It's so unnatural, but oh boy, I just finished the show. I have to say, before I even start, I did not think it would be that good. I did not think even I would be recording it right now. So it's like 2:30 in the morning. I just finished the last episode. Oh boy. And I finished it in like, I don't know, 2 sessions of... I did not think I would like it so much. But, oh, it's just a masterpiece. I will get to that. I'll try to compose myself. I had to pipe down a lot because the end of the show is so emotional. The whole show is emotional, but anyways. So, first things first, spoiler alert, I will be talking about the most important plot point in the anime that happens in the 8th episode. So, it's the, like, near the end of the first season. The whole show has 27 episodes. I think it has between 2 or 3 movies. Show was made by Gainax in partnership with Konami. The music is a original soundtrack. I don't know if made by or just produced by Sony Music. It went from April 2007 to September 2007. Just to just to set the mood, right? The anime was made to be broadcast in a kids show slot, so you see some let's say it's not so focused on the story. Let's put it like that. It's not so much towards the story, and well, that's the stats. I think the pretty minimal stats, because I want to cover more things. I don't know how much time I will need to explain everything I need to say. So first things first, why did I watch Gurren Lagann? Why did I watch Tengen Toppa Gurren Lagann? Oh man, it's just so the thing is, right, I wanted to talk about Studio Trigger. And to talk about Studio Trigger, you have to talk about the anime that walked so Studio Trigger could run. And for the foreseeable future, I say, but for the next, I think 2 months, 2.5 months maybe, I'll be talking about just Trigger anime. Because I love them. I am a fanboy of Trigger. I love their anime so much. Although the latest 2, the being, or at the very least the ones that I remember being the latest 2, that being Darling the Franxx and Kisniver, they are kind of misses in my book, but the studio still has a good track record with me. I mean, I would not be talking about this anime in specific for the foreseeable future. I don't know how to reveal it, but if you ever want to see a huge metaphor for a story of a studio, look for Inferno Cop. Inferno Cop is the apex of the Studio Trigger way of doing stuff. It's so bad, but still so good. Anyways, I'm getting sidetracked already. I didn't even start. So, oh boy, how do I even start here? So, what's the story in Gurren Lagann? So, Gurren Lagann is the story of 2 guys, Kamina and Shimon. that they live in this, let's say this another dimension Earth, right? That they live underground, and Kamin and Shimon is more of a scaredy cat kind of guy. He has no confidence. He really just lives for himself, in that being he has no friends, no people near him. His parents died in a tremor, and again they live underground, so they never seen the sky, the sun, not even anything. And Kamina is boy, how do I say that? No, and this is the thing, right? The first thing I need to, no words that I put here in this episode, no words can explain the way that Gurren Lagann works. It's just a masterpiece. It's not even it's not describable. You have to see it, you have to vibe with it, you have to see the vibe, you have to feel it. Kamina is the soul, the embodiment of the shonen anime, the shonen manga. Kamina is the one guy who will always defy authority, will always look for a way to make the things impossible possible. And that's the core of the show. Is this spirit, this hope. Is about having hope. Is about, if there's a will, there's a way. All the show in itself, it's all about that. If you ever feel down, if you ever feel depressed, if you think you can't do it, watch this show. It will up your spirits. It's so hype. I am most times kind of a gloomy guy. I just walk the line, right? I live my life. Man, how much did I love this show from watching it? It gives you that urge to get out there and do stuff. Gives you the, I don't know, man. I could just, I don't know, go outside and punch a tree and think that I'm in Minecraft because I can't do it, right? I'm not even making sense already, and it's been like 7 minutes in the recording. But Kamina is, I took the note here, it's Johnny Bravo with the redeeming qualities, and that's the next part, right? So the first episode, we meet Kamina and Shimon in their village. They say they basically live underground, let's say a hole in the middle of the ground, so they just have the ceiling, they can't see the surface. And Kamina has this thing where he believes that the surface exists, and the village chief says he's an idiot and that the surface does not exist at all. And Kamina gets Shimon, and this is the thing, right? Shimon has this drill, and they have this drill just to, I don't know if they expand the village, if they get minerals from it. It's never really explained by the whole show, but they do digging as a day job. And eventually Shimon comes across this little drill that eventually becomes the most important item in the whole show, but okay. And then Kamina gets him to try to dig to the surface, and then they fail. Kamina is apprehended for some time, and then things start to get rolling when, for some reason, the ceiling collapses, and from there falls a mecha, and he tries to kill everyone. And Kamina, just defying all expectations, he grabs the chief's sword, and imagine like that, the mecha is like I don't know, imagine 50 times his size, for more even, 100 times the size, and he, with just a katana, just says, "Yo, who do you think I am? I'm gonna defeat you." And it's just, this is the first scene that you get the spirit of the show, right? But then obviously he gets blown away and all, and then appears Yoko. Yoko is the main female character for the first half, and she also becomes she's the main female character, but well, I'll get to that. And she has this Barrett 50 cal that shoots electric stuff. It's never really explained, but it apparently can be fired from the hip with no recoil, and it damages mechas, whatever. And also, yes, her attire is, let's just say, pretty nice. And then they kind of get this thing where they try to defeat the mecha, but also no. And then Shimon somehow finds this, let's say, little mecha that starts with his mini drill that he found earlier, and then they can escape and defeat the mecha. And that's pretty alright. That's the first big shot of the anime. The first episode is just they defeat the first guy and discover that the surface is real. They see the blue sky, the sun, and discover that other people exist outside their village, and that there are people on the surface, and that the mechas they fight every day are called gunmen, and that gunmen always try to kill humans on a daily basis. And that's the siege for the first episode. So second episode, they meet with Lidon, which it's never really explained whether it's a guy or a girl, non-binary, whatever. Eventually you just get with the times. They don't force so much like they do in other animes, because it's a kids show for the most part, and then it's basically the main mechanic of the whole thing. And then we get to, so episode 2 is they find this Yoko's village, that's Ritona. And quick aside, right, for this anime and Kill la Kill and other things related to Trigger, they do this thing where they try to play on words with the character names. I don't know enough Japanese to understand all. I know that in Kill la Kill it's pretty prevalent, all the play on words with the character names, but I don't know if Gurren Lagann applies to that. Anyways, so first 3 episodes is about this thing where they meet the surface. They meet the first 2 characters outside of the first village, that they eventually become the group, and they become the Gurren, how was that? The Gurren Brigade. There's the group of people looking for defeating gunmen being the mechas, and saving humanity for the most part. And already you can see with Yoko being introduced that Kamina has this thing where he has no, let's say, in 2020s manners, you would say he absolutely harasses her. And to be a credit, that's true. He straight up just harasses her way on. But at the same time, he's kind of, let's say, he's not mature. He has, I think the canon is that he has like 17 years, and he didn't interact with girls all his life, so it's pretty, he acts like if she was a man also. That does not translate well if I explain it here, but if you see it, you get it. So episode 4 already, I have a quick add-on. Episode 4, I don't know why I saw this on Wikipedia, but they had a different animator for the episode, and it kind of got controversy online and all. back in the day, so 2007 on 2chan, and that made this is a side, right, that eventually led to the vice head of Gainax to resign. Quick aside, back to the show. Episode 4 is where they learn of the, let's say, the main rival for the series, that is Viraru. Right, so to explain Viral, I would say. So the gunmen are piloted by this beastmen, they say, no? Yeah? And beastmen are all forms, all sizes, but Viral is more of a close to being a humanoid. Actually, the only beast qualities he has is the fangs mostly. So anyways, and episode 4 is his presentation basically, and he has this thing where he can fight Kamina head on, because Kamina is this stubborn, reckless guy with his unbreakable spirit, and then he finds someone who can face him head on with also one unbreakable spirit, and eventually this will develop into something more, but for this part he's the main rival. And then through episode 5, 6 and 7, and mostly till 7, right, they get acquainted with people that eventually become the Daiguren Brigade. That is the group that eventually gets to be the group that frees humanity from the underground, but I'll get to that. And so episode 7 forward, episode 7, I should say episode 6 and 7, episode 6 already, let me just give this is a good add-on actually, because episode 6 is a bust. Episode 6, you could, for the most part, skip it. I already say that, because episode 6, from what I could research, it was done, then shown to the sponsors and the guys, the higher ups, right? And then they got the cold feet of showing that on a time slot for kids, because it's the onsen episode, and the subplot is obviously the guy trying to spy on the girls on the onsen. So the episode is kind of a bust from the middle to the end, and it becomes more of a, let's say, it becomes kind of a recollection episode. So it's just a whole lot of scenes of the first episodes that come before it. It's pretty busted. It does not really add to the story, but anyways, at this point already you get to meet the first the another rival for Kamina, that is Kitan. Kitan is I'll get to him eventually. And okay, so episode 7, episode 8. Episode 7, they come across this let's say this huge gunman that is a fortress. It's the design of the mechas are really, really wild on this anime. It is so nice to see. When you go like, what in the heck? Like, it's not meant to be practical. It's not meant to be useful. For the most part, this anime, you cannot think with logic. For the most part, I say. But the whole point of the anime is that some things just do not need logic. The whole spiel for this part is that to Shimon to control Lagann, that is the mini gunman that he got, is that he needs force of will and hope and that burning flame of let's get it done, the urge to punch a problem in the face. He needs that, and for the whole anime, that's the main power source, let's say, for the whole thing. And so throw logic out the window, that doesn't belong here. So episode 7, they come across this gunman, and Kamina just looks at it and says, yeah, I'll get that. That will be mine. And then they really go against it. They get let's say I would say a bunch, but it's not a bunch. It's the first Gurren Brigade. There is a collection of random guys that just appear, and then they go against the thing. In episode 7, it kind of becomes, they will get it eventually. But then there's this part, right? The whole spiel for this show is that Kamina is the ideal of hope, of facing problems head on, of getting over obstacles. Nothing is impossible. Everything that has a possibility to be done can be done. This unwavering kind of desire, urge to do things, this hope, never-ending hope. And Shimon at this point is really a scaredy cat. He really needs Kamina as emotional support, to the point where on episode 7, at this point, Kamina, Shimon, and Yoko are traveling together and all. And Shimon at this point has 10 years, 10, 11 years. And Yoko's already at her 17th, 18th year. And she has the attire is pretty important. Let me rephrase that. The attire is pretty important for this. And she kind of already has a crush on her. It's not, you can see, right? But then it comes to the point where on episode 7, she kind of wants to confess to Yoko, and then he sees her kissing Kamina, and then his morale is destroyed, and he becomes nearly useless for the battle. And then we come to episode 8. Episode 8, they start the battle and all, and they start the battle to get the moving fortress of the gunmen. And at some point, the big boss of the fortress comes out, and the way he comes out is, and this is the big point, spoiler alert already, again, he kills Kamina. Kamina dies on episode 8. And yeah, it is pretty, oh boy, it's so emotional. At this point, you may say too early. I kind of feel it's too early to him to die, but at the same time, given what happens after that, I kind of can see why they did it. I don't know, man. It's kind of hard to say, actually. To me, it's kind of early, but not really. I would have given it one more episode maybe, but then again, I don't know. But with this strength after Kamina dies, with the strength of the fury of Kamina dying, killing the guy, mind you, Kamina died, but took the commander of the fortress with him. And with this newfound fury, Shimon gets control of the ship, of the moving fortress, and back it up to episode 9. Episode 9 is the beginning of the... so when we talk about this kind of shonen anime, anything really, there's this thing where the journey of the hero, right? So there's the peak, that's the good thing. There's the slope where they find the obstacle where it destroys them, and then there's the rise again, where the the hero eventually gets out of the slope, and this is the full slope, right? The whole cliff actually. So for episode 9 and I think 10, Shimon is completely destroyed. His world is wrecked without Kamina. He's using Gurren Lagann. They already got Gurren Lagann, that's the mecha. They've already got it, and Shimon is just using his fury to pilot it. But eventually Lagann, that is the head, gives out on him because there is just too much energy coming out, and eventually he becomes useless. He cannot even move it. He cannot turn it on. And depression episode basically. But then appears one Gamin that they have to fight. And it's whatever Gamin. That's not the important bit. The important bit is that with Lagann being kind of more or less useless at that point, Shimon kind of he falls on a how do you say that on English? In English, let's say it's he falls into a ravine with a whole lot of let's say boxes, right? And one of the boxes that gets thrown out when he gets close, the opening, the keyhole, let's say, on the box begins to resonate with his mini drill, and when he opens it, comes out a new girl, Nia, and that's one of the things with Trigger. This is a big aside, but I need to say that if I want to create a line with the next episodes. This is a Gainax anime, but the people who worked on it eventually made Trigger, and their style is unmatched. Trigger anime have the most style of all anime, of all studios. You can always pinpoint the one made by Trigger. It's a funny thing. I really like that. That shows personality, I think. And the thing is, right, when the girl comes out, her name is Nia. Her color palette is out of whack with the rest of the anime. It is so it's so symbolic to me that she's the agent of change. Actually, she's the cornerstone where the anime kind of starts get running. It's hard to say, but in an anime that relies on reds, contrasting blues, contrasting yellows and all, when she comes out with pastel colors on her hair, her different pupils, and all her style is just it's just so symbolic. It's the agent of change for me, at the very least. And TLDR, right, she comes out and she does not know anything about the surface world, and she kind of becomes this emotional support for Shimon for the rest of the series, really. But for this part, she kind of helps him notice that yes, Kamina is dead. Yes, you are not like him, but you need to go on your own way. You have to have confidence on yourself, and then they get back to the moving fortress and go about their lives, right? And so for this part, Shimon's kind of still depressed. Gurren Lagann is the main mecha that the brigade uses to fight, because it's so much stronger than anything they got. But at the same time, the only person who can use it is Shimon, And then we get to this part where Nia, not understanding how the things in the world work, how people work, she kind of helps him just notice that, yeah, Kamina is not around anymore. And he eventually, let's say, some episodes later, right, one of the generals of the Beastmen that was a friend of the first one they killed appears and tries to kill Nia, and Shimon, not having access to Lagann at this point, he still can't turn it on. He runs to save her, even though even though he does not have anything to fight with. He runs barehanded just to save her, and eventually, yeah, someone appears with a gun and saves her, but she noticed it, and she comes to talk to him later and say, yeah, I know that even though you are barehanded, even though you are powerless right now, you try to help me, and I appreciate that. And eventually, Shimon kind of gets up to the fact that, yeah, he's not Kamina, and he needs to move on. He needs to get over that slope, and that's when and I'm glossing over a lot of things, right? There's this whole, let's say, one episode of this one beach episode where Yoko kind of has this conflict with Nia, that she kind of begins to she kind of gets this jealousy because she thinks that she's being substituted as the main female. It's I can't explain it well, but again, I urge anyone, please watch the anime. It's so good. And I'm glossing around, and I'm just jumping from plot point to plot point because I need to get to the meat and potatoes already. So they have this thing, right, where they fight all the generals eventually, and they want to find the Beastman city to free humanity, to kill the Spiral King, they call it. Spiral King, by the way, is Nia's father, just the add-on, and they are trying to get there, and alright. So episode, I think it's 13, 14, and 15 is the, let's say, the pre-battle and the battle for the Beastman capital. And in that you see that just the highlights, right? All the fights in this anime are so well animated. It's so well animated. The soundtrack's so on point. And then, oh boy, it's awesome. It's awesome. So the thing is, right? They get to the capital, and they get to this part where they have to fight the Spiral King, and he comes out with gunman, really like looking like and acting like Gurren Lagann, but it has kind of a Scorpion vibe to it, I think. And the fight's awesome. It's just mecha trading punches and all. It's so good. And eventually, yes, they do defeat him. The citadel is kind of destroyed and all. But then, before he really dies, he comes out and says, when there are 1 million monkeys, the moon becomes the messenger of hell. And then, at this point, is the end of the first season, right? The first season is episode 15. And I have to actually add one thing, because it becomes a plot point, really. And it's one of the emotional points for me, because I really start to hate him. So in between this thing where they get to meet the people who eventually become the Daiguren Brigade, they come across this village where there only lives 50 people, and there is this high priest. There is this, let's say, this kid with the high priest. There's a guy in his, I don't know, 15 years, and the other citizens, and the village is peaceful. It's worse than the first village that Kamina and Shimon lived on, and it's pretty. Oh man, it's sad. It's gloomy. It's horrible. And then they have this whole thing where they have this, let's say, a religion where there is this face god on the wall, and they think that all gunmen are face gods. But that's not the important bit, right? The important bit is that first thing, Kamina does not like the high priest, the guy who governs the village, and every time they see each other, Kamina almost start a fight. They eventually ask Yoko to cover up her, let's say, attire again, and then there's this whole thing, and I cannot say, I mean, I am surprised that they showed something like that on a kids time slot, but there's one idea that there can be only 50 people in that village. Every time it exceeds, they either throw them on a hole to meet God, or in that case that Kamina, Shimon, and Yoko appear with Gurren Lagann, they send people for the surface. In that case, they send Gimi and Dari, who are two orphans with no relatives, and boy, it's messed up. It's messed up. And at that point, right, Roshio, that's the kid with his 15 years that helps the high priest, Roshio volunteers to go with them to take care of the kids. And Roshio, and this is the thing, right? Why does Kamina does not like the high priest? Because he represents the fear that we have, the crippling fear of, let's say, if you don't want to live, you want to survive, and to survive is not to live. So they don't try to advance their ways, they just live that peaceful way with no hope of getting something better, of not knowing something better, and that piece is coming out really, really hard. And Roshio, eventually after Kamina dies, he becomes the pilot of Gurren, because Lagann is piloted by Shimon, but Gurren has to be piloted by someone else, and Roshio eventually gets to be the secondary pilot, let's say. But then we get so episode 15, they capture the city. The Spiral King says that 1 million monkey thing, and episode 16 is a thing that they also do on Kill la Kill, but not since I have seen they do it. It's the summary episode, so it's an episode basically just to retell the first season, basically. So then we get to episode 17. This is where I really, really start to hate Roshio with all the fibers of my being. It is not even close. I mean, oh boy. So 7 year, there's a time skip of 7 years, and they already built a big city called Kamina City in memory of Kamina, because he's a symbol of hope and freeing humanity. And obviously Shimon gets to be the, let's say, a commander-in-chief, aka the president, and Roshio is the secretary. But then, oh boy, so things get messed up, because Roshio basically transforms himself, even though he got to know Kamina firsthand, he got to know Shimon firsthand, he got to know that throughout their adventures, the one thing that solved everything is punching problems in the face and having hope and striving to live better, to find that tomorrow. Even though he knows them all, he becomes he cultivates this crippling fear. He becomes afraid of that warning that the Spiral King gave before he died about the 1 million, and then he starts to do everything behind Shimon's back, which is pretty nice if you know what I mean. It's really healthy for the government, and he starts to get way more involved in trying to control the public rather than to do something. And for all intents and purposes, I'll leave any traces, anything you can compare to reality to you guys. I don't want to get to it here. I don't like reality as it is, yes, but I don't want to get political in any way. Back to the anime. So, and Uroshio gets to be this micromanaging ass. And then we get to this part, right? So there's this one hidden counter, let's say, that counts how many humans are in the planet, and it hits the 1 million. When it hits the 1 million, and it hits 1 million when the daughter of one of the guys from the original brigade is born, so it's more of the poetic kind of thing. When it hits 1 million, she just hits the fan. So random mecha just spawns in the middle of the city and starts wrecking everything. And then they have this let's say this squadron of Gurren Lagann copies. They say they are improved, but to my knowledge, not really. And they try to stop him, but he basically is immune to normal bullets and all. And when Shimon gets to see the destruction, he just hops on Gurren Lagann and just wrecks his stuff. But the thing is, right, if you ever played Halo, you know that. But he kills, he destroys the mecha, and when the mecha is destroyed, he drops explosives. If you ever played Halo, you know the grunts running with grenades on their hands. Even if you kill the grunt, the grenade's still there. And wrecks a whole lot of stuff, and then riots begin and all. And then comes another one, and just to add to the pile of things already happening, for some reason, something happens with Nia that she kind of she's the messenger of the anti-spiral. And then we get this exposition that actually the spiral force is the will to evolve, the evolutionary force that all life forms have, and the anti-spiral are spirals that somehow just broke their spiral and don't want the spirals to live. And then they kind of explain it like, so the spiral force is the will to evolve and expand, and eventually that comes with the thing that you expand so much, you evolve so much that you destroy yourself, right? And the anti-spirals, when they were spirals, they noticed that, and they swore to destroy all the spiral life forms. But then again, that's the story in this anime doesn't really matter. The thing is, right, the actually doesn't really matter. The oh boy, I am getting all mixed up here. The thing is, the anti-spirals are the culmination of this crippling fear of having to survive that we have. This when you stop trying to live and you fight to survive. And the spiral force is the will to live, is the strive that we fight, we hope to find a better tomorrow. That's the two clashing things here. And in the midst of that, Roshio is kind of try to control the public, try to get to power, because I don't think the current administration is good, you know. And he arrests Shimon for no apparent reason. That's messed up, man. That's really messed up. And I would say, like, from episode 17 to I think it's episode 20, 21, before the brigade really gets together again and finds their gunmen and starts to fight. In between that, when Roshio is in the power, trying to do the things his way, and eventually come to the realization that he cannot save everyone, and even if he tries just to survive with a few people, he will not be successful. I just hate Roshio for that part, and it is really just pure rage, right? Because he's just an asshole at that point. He takes off the only way that humanity has to protect itself. He does not see a way to solve the problem. He wants to see a palliative solution for the problem. So he doesn't actually want to save the Earth. He wants to let the Earth be destroyed and try to run away. That's not the way of this anime. And this is the thing, right? The way of Gurren Lagann is not that. The way of Gurren Lagann is punching the problem in the face. And so there's this thing, right, where from episode 20 to episode 23, they try to evacuate the Earth, but because they eventually find out that the moon's going to fall on Earth and destroy everything, destroy its crust, so it will become only magma for an year. And Roshio gets this spaceship that was left there by the Spiral King, and get people there, but he eventually finds out that he will not first get all the people that he wanted to save, and second, the guys who are the anti-spirals who are trying to kill everyone, they already have a blockage on space, so no go. And at that point, right, Shimon's in prison, everyone is trying to get together to fight again, and then Yoko appears after 6 years of being, let's say, undercover as a teacher, because she wanted to cultivate a bright future for her kids, so she became a teacher for what seems to be, I don't know, 1 year? I think it's 1 year. But then she notices that she has to save people, and then she sees Kitan fighting, and yeah, where's Shimon? Oh, he's still in prison. So she gets him out of there, and also in prison, who else is there? Viral, because he apparently became immortal after getting to know the story from the Spiral King. And so Viral becomes the pilot of Gurren, and then Gurren Lagann's back, and they get the brigade back together, launch themselves in space, fight the guys, and from that point on, right, till episode 23, they fight all the anti-spirals that are attacking Earth, and they get control of the moon, before it collides with Earth. And actually the moon was a huge gunman, also left behind by the Spiral King. And then they have this whole exposition that actually the Spiral King is from the original Spiral race, the Spiral Knights that fought the Anti-Spirals, but then they lost, and then he had this thing where he tried to lock everyone underground to conserve the species and the planet. And then the Anti-Spirals installed a whole human extermination program on all the galaxy. And from that point on, from episode 24 on, after this whole dump and everyone getting together again, Roshio eventually gets a punch in the face. And this is the thing that I love about this anime, right? Everything that could be let's say the get up slap, right? The wake up slap. Actually, it's the most exaggerated punch out of nowhere. It's awesome. When so Roshio, he understands that he kind of screwed up, but he's consumed by the guilt, and he tries to, let's say, get in the forever box. But before that, Shimon finds a way to cross space-time to teleport to him, get out of Gurren Lagann, and just punch him straight in the face, just to wake him up, just to snap out of it. God damn it! And man, it's just it's screwed up. It's really messed up. The whole situation's pretty messed up. But the way that they resolve it, it's so nice. It's so it has that high spirit, that hype, that that's the way. I can't explain it in words, but it shows that even though you messed up, even though you make mistakes, you don't have to punish yourself for all the mistakes. I mean that can be debated. His ways are really not justifiable for the ends. So the means do not justify the ends. But the message is pretty good even then. And the scene is pretty animated for just a wake-up punch. It's really nice. So they all get back together. They really just get everything ready, and they get the spaceship and go to the moon, because at that point Nia is captured by the Anti-Spirals, and Shimon at that point needs to get her back. That's it. And from episode 24 to 27, I don't really need to tell you that the way it ends. The only highlight I would say is that the moment that they start to throw galaxies at each other is so it's so extra, it's so exaggerated, it is so hype. It's so nice to see that. It's, oh boy, it's so, I like the words to say that, but it just shows the amount of spirit that the anime has. This thing where it doesn't matter really the story at that point. It doesn't need to make sense. It doesn't need to have a connection with reality. At that point, the amount of random science effects that they just throw at the window, it's just uncountable. And even then, you are still watching because you want to see the fight. You want to see the absurd things that will come out of their force of will. How much they have this force of will to try to defeat the bad guys, to get things done, to see tomorrow. And yes, they eventually rescue Nia, and the ending is bittersweet as heck. And I hate the ending. Okay, the very ending, I hate it. But that's because for all the lack of romance that it has, it does not have they lived ever after at the end, and I hate that. I hate when there is this only sliver of romance. I hate it on all romances that I read or watch, but every time the ending is not happy, I really hate it. But that's besides the point. So I spoiled all the main points. I glossed over most of the things. Again, I urge you, please, give it a watch. It is that worth it. The whole thing, the animation is awesome. So well made, so nice. Even the summary episode, they do the explanations by hand. They doing the title cards for the episodes. It's so nice. Please just watch. It's a masterpiece. In my opinion, it's a masterpiece. And and the thing, right? So what is the conclusion? What's my opinion? And I think I don't even need to say my opinion. Really, I already told you about it. Just remembering everything that I just watched. Just this thing, this whole having hope, showing that we can do it, even though it's the most fantastical thing. It's absurd. The definition of plot armor, plot convenience, whatever. This anime is healing. It is healing. If you are down in the dump, please watch it. It will get you better. I guarantee it. The animation, except for episode 4, I'll give it a 10. Just for that. The story, given everything, I would say probably a 6 or 7. And soundtrack's a 10. Soundtrack is straight up a 10. The OST made by Sony was awesome. So awesome. Goddamn. And what else do I need to say? I don't know what I need to say. I already said it. The whole plot of the show is having hope. Is striving for a better tomorrow, facing problems head on, punch the problem in the face. That's the Gurren Lagann way. The drill that will pierce the heavens. That's the motto. The even though problems will arise and you will have to face them, you cannot run away. You have to face them head on. That's the whole message. That's the whole anime, actually. The whole anime is them showing how you cannot run away from your problems. You have to face them. They will eventually catch up to you, so you have to get in there and just finish it. I don't know what else to say, really. I don't know what else to say. At this point, I am at a loss for words, for better for words. I don't want to milk it much more because it's already 1 hour of recording. And anyways, so final remarks. Go watch it. Just that. Just go watch it. So first things first, right? For the ending, I opened a Discord channel for the podcast. I want to discuss with people because I eventually came to the conclusion that I will not receive an email about anything, and right, I prefer Discord either way, but creating a community Discord is kind of a an ordeal. I don't have Nitro, and I don't know people who can be mods for me, so it's pretty... let's see what happens. So join the Discord, link is in the description of the episode and the podcast bio. Outside from that, if you're on Spotify, please follow me, please give a like. If you are on YouTube, thanks for watching, please sub and like too. And if you are on Apple, please, I don't even know what Apple statistics are really, because my dashboard is really strange. Anyways, so like, sub, whatever, if you can, if you want, share, and thank you for listening. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.